My name is Brownlee Ferguson. I founded a company, a music publishing company, Blue Water Music. And I'd like to thank you all for joining me for this talk about music publishing. And I'd like to thank VEVA Collect for the opportunity to speak with you about 3 topics related to music publishing. The 3 topics are: what is a copyright? What does a music publisher do? And the various sources of revenue that a songwriter and publishers can earn from successful songs. All these topics have many layers of depth. The goal today is for me to outline what these general terms mean so that you will have a foundation from which to build further knowledge. So the first topic, which is probably the most important one, is what is a copyright? So let's go through the process briefly of what a songwriter does. The songwriter obviously writes a song, and it consists of music and words. When the songwriter finishes the song, or as they say in the industry, when the pen leaves the paper, a copyright is created. So what is a copyright? Well, let's look at the word copyright. And it literally means right to copy. So a copyright is a property. It is an intellectual property or intangible property, meaning that you can't actually touch it. But it has many features of a tangible property. So let's talk about a tangible property we all have, a cell phone. The cell phone you can sell, you can rent, and you can give it away. Exactly what you can do with a copyright. You can sell a copyright, you can license or rent a copyright, and you can transfer it or give it away. So a copyright, once again, is property that has various ownership features centered around the right to copy. This means that you, when you create the song, own the copyright, meaning that no one can legitimately use your song without your permission, meaning it cannot be put in a film, it cannot be printed, it cannot be broadcasted, records cannot be recorded and distributed without your permission. That's what a copyright is. And from that, we can go into what a music publisher does. A music publisher often is assigned the copyright, meaning that the writer of the original song, when he can transfer the song to a music publisher, and the music publisher will then own all the rights of the copyright, subject to terms of the transfer. So, for example, a songwriter may assign the copyright to a publisher for money and for other benefits. And the music publisher will then attempt to exploit the song to generate revenue. And this is often done in what's called the creative department of a music publisher. The creative department is focused on getting the song used in film, recorded, and so forth, so that revenues can be generated. Assuming that the creative department does its job properly, which does not always happen, the other department takes over. The other department is called the administration department. So once the song is recorded and released, commercially released, a license will need to be issued. And this is the responsibility of the administration company. The other part of the administration duties include royalty collection and royalty distribution. So once a license is issued for the use of a song, the publisher will get paid for this license, accumulate the revenues from around the world, and then distribute the proportionate share to the songwriter and perhaps other publishers, depending on how much of the song is administrated by the music publisher. So that brings us to the final topic, which what are the major sources of revenue from a copyright or the publication of a song? performance royalties, meaning basically revenue generated from radio airplay or TV broadcasting or public performance of the song in a live venue. The other areas include print, which is fairly straightforward, often printing of sheet music or lyrics. The other major area is something called mechanical royalties, which is a bit of an archaic term, but it involves the fixation of the music and sale of the music or streaming of the music. And the synchronization use involves fixing the music to film. And often this will be done with either advertisements, television shows, or movies, of course. So let's go through the recording of a song and see how these revenues can be generated. So let's assume that a song is recorded and placed on a major streaming service like Amazon, Apple, Spotify. Obviously, there will be some public broadcasting of this music once it is streamed. And for this, Spotify and the other digital streaming services are required to get a performance license. They are also required to pay a mechanical license under U.S. copyright law, meaning that there's a fixation of the music when it's streamed through the streaming device like a telephone. So to summarize, we've covered 3 topics. We've covered what a copyright is, what a music publisher does, and the 4 major revenue sources from songwriting. These topics are the foundation for you to understand basic music publishing and how to generate revenue from your songs. Again, please remember, a copyright is property. It allows the owner of the property to copy the underlying composition or music of the copyright. And that person, the owner of the copyright, owns the exclusive rights and is allowed to license those rights to others. Those are often licensed for royalties. Again, a music publisher will have 2 departments, both a creative department, which is primary function is to find uses for the music, and an administration department, which is to administer the copyright or license the copyright and to collect and distribute royalties. And again, the major sources of royalties are from public performance of the music, from mechanical or fixation of the music on devices or records or CDs, print, which is obvious, the printing of songbooks, sheet music, and the final one is synchronization uses of music, which means fixing the music to film. This is often for ads, for television shows, and for films. Thanks so much for visiting with me today, and I hope these basic foundations will enable you to have a very prosperous career as a songwriter, music publisher, copyright administrator. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Jones and I work for an organisation called PRC Music. If you don't know who PRC Music are, we're a performing rights organisation. They represent the rights of songwriters, composers and music publishers in the UK and around the world. PRC Music ensures that our members are paid when their musical compositions and songs are streamed, downloaded, broadcast on TV or radio, played in public or performed at venues. Simply put, the music you've written is being performed in public. PRC Music collects and pay you royalties. And if you're not a member of a performing rights organisation such as PRS or don't work with a music publisher, you could be losing out on money that's due to you. So the first place to start when you're talking about performing rights organisation is musical copyright. So what are the actual benefits of being a copyright owner? So anytime a third party wants to use your music, they normally need to pay you a fee. So that's quite hard to do in practice. So what happens is a thing called collective licensing, where essentially all customers who use our members' music are required to have a license with us. They pay us the fee, they send us some reporting on the music they've been used, and then the performing rights organisations sort out the logistics of making sure the right people get paid. So every time you record a song, there's actually two separate musical copyrights there. This is a very important slide to understand. First of all, there's a copyright in the underlying composition itself. So that's the music, the lyrics. Those are known as the song rights or the publishing rights. That's the part of the copyright that performing rights organisations are concerned with, who actually wrote or composed the song and who publishes the song. There's also a separate copyright in the actual sound recording itself. Those are known as the recording rights or the master rights or phonographic rights. So this differs around the world. There are a number of different performing rights organisations, but also mechanical rights organisations. In the UK, there's an organisation called PRS Music, which is the brand name for PRS, who are the Performing Rights Society. This is a performing rights organisation. Performing rights organisations collect money for when music is publicly performed. So that could be being played on the radio, being played on TV, being played live, or in a shop or a hairdresser, places like that. There's also another organisation under the PRS Music brand called MCPS, which stands for the Mechanical Copyright Protection Society. MCPS collects mechanical royalties, which is a very old term, which essentially means when music is copied or reproduced. So when music is copied onto CD, on vinyl, when it's downloaded, and also when it's streamed as well. Lots of different countries around the world will have performing rights organisations and mechanical rights organisations. Some of them work together, some of them are separate, and some countries that aren't mechanical copyright protection societies either. So music using customers. If you think about it, most organisations use music. One of our biggest customers in the UK is the BBC, which is our broadcaster that has radio stations, it has lots of TV stations as well. So every time the BBC wants to use a piece of our members' music, they're required to send us a bit of reporting. So they'll tell us the song that was used, how long they used it for, and any information they have on the songwriters. We collect royalties from them as well, and then we pay that on to our members every time their music is used. We've got hairdressers, bars, shops. They use our members' music, so they're required to pay us a small license fee every year, which we pass on to our members when their music has been used. On the live circuit, you've got live venues, music festivals, clubs. They use a lot of music. They're all required to be licensed with us. On the MCPS side of things, there's mechanical royalties. So every time a label presses a CD or vinyl and it's got the music of an MCPS member on, MCPS will collect a percentage of the pressing and pay that on to the member, whether that be the rights member themselves or their publisher. And on the digital side of things, all the major digital service providers such as Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, TikTok, they're all licensed by performing rights organisations as well. There is a lot of licensing that gets done around the world. In the UK, we license over 360,000 different businesses every year. And that means that there's a lot of data that's sent into us. Every year, this figure is going up and up. In 2020, we processed over 22.4 trillion performances of music. This is information we get from our customers, so streaming services, broadcasters. Every time they use a bit of music, they report that to us. So now we'll move on to discuss our members. So PRS Music has a membership of just over 155,000 members, so one of the biggest collection societies in the world. And who are our members? Essentially, anybody that writes songs can be a member of PRS. whether you call yourself a songwriter, a composer, or producer, all boils down to, are you getting songwriting credits? If so, you can join us as a member. We also have over 10,000 music publisher members, and we also have a few thousand what are called successor members. So when one of our members passes away, one of their next of kin will join us and they'll continue to receive royalties for the lifetime of the copyright. Pretty much every British songwriter you can think of will be a member of PRS, from all different genres, from media writers to hip-hop artists to pop writers to grime artists to jazz musicians. As long as you're a songwriter, it doesn't matter what genre of music you play, you can join us. It's not just British songwriters either. Some of the biggest North American, European, and South Asian songwriters are members of PRS rather than their local performing rights organisation. On the publishing side of things, you've got the majors such as Sony, Universal, Warner's, or big independents such as Cobalt, Downtown, of course, Blue Water, right down to sole trader individuals. So when should you consider joining a performing rights organisation? So first and foremost, you need to be a music creator. You need to be getting songwriting credits. If you're in a band, one person's written all the songs and the songwriting credits aren't being split between you, just that one person needs to join. Secondly, your songs need to be doing things that are going to generate you royalties. So if you've written 10 of the best songs in the world, but you're not doing anything with them just now, they're not on the radio, they're not on streaming services, you're not performing them live, then maybe don't join just yet. Wait until they're being performed, and then you'll start earning money from your performing rights organisation. For MCPS, for mechanical royalties, your songs need to be released by someone other than yourself commercially, whether this be a record label or a streaming service and things like that. The start date's also very important. If you are going to join a performing rights organisation, we recommend you do it as soon as possible. PRS has 2 cut-offs every year. So if you join us now in the first part of the year, we backdate your membership to January 1st and claim any royalties from that day forward. If you join us in the second part of the year, it's from July 1st onwards. So don't leave it too late so you don't lose out on any royalties that are due to you. And finally, it needs to be cost effective for you to join a performing rights organisation. There's lots of different fees, and what we want you to do is earn at least that amount of money back through joining us. So finally, these are the main channels you can gain PRS and MCPS royalties from. So in the UK, if you're playing a show, it doesn't matter how big the show is, as long as the venue is licensed by PRS, we'll pay you a royalties. So this can be either a very small royalty to a very large royalty if you're playing large venues, you're headlining major festivals. When your music is being used on the major TV and radio broadcasters, you'll also receive payment from us. How much depends on how big the station is and what time of day your music is being used on. If your music's been synced into film and adverts, you'll also receive royalties every time it's played on TV, in addition to any sync fee that your publisher will be getting you. If your music is downloaded and streamed, you'll also collect royalties from PRS and MCPS. For MCPS audio and audio-visual products, so as I said earlier, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, if your music is being copied into these products, then mechanical royalties will be due to you or your publisher. And finally, international usages as well. So most performing rights organisations have got agreements with their sister societies around the world. So if your music is being used overseas, their collection societies in the other countries will collect the money and pay it onto you. And finally, this is how it all works in a very basic way. So you've got a performing rights organisation here, you've got your member here, and you've got your different customers. They're all required to pay us a license after every event, every quarter or every year. They submit playlists, cue sheets, set lists, streaming data to us. The performing rights organisation member registers their songs on our database. We match it all together and pay out royalties to the member. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you found the session useful. Goodbye.
guys, my name's Daphne Willis, and thank you, VEVA, for having me on for this. I'm very excited to be a part of everything you guys are doing. So as an LA-based singer-songwriter and producer and artist, a lot of what I do is collaborate. I co-write with other people. We come together usually in groups of anywhere from 2 to 4, sometimes 5, and make a song. And usually, you know, when the song is made is the moment that you can really be organized and on top of your stuff. So a lot of career songwriters, you know, they have big catalogs, right? Hundreds and hundreds of songs. When you get too far down the road, it can be really difficult to catch back up, as some of us may or may not know. So my recommendation is from day one, wherever you are in your catalog, maybe you do need to go back and organize some things. I know I've been there. But moving forward now, what I do is on the day of the session, there is a lyric sheet, you know, where you guys are all in there typing out the lyrics. And on that day, you can say, okay, this is going to be a 3-way split. There's 3 writers. And in the lyric sheet that you guys create, you can put everybody's names in there, put their PRO number, their publishing information, and then you can also specify the splits for the song that day. I would recommend also specifying the splits between on the master side as well, which is something that not a lot of artists and producers are talking about when they're writing for record labels or artist releases, as much as it is applied when we are writing for sync or synchronization. So when we write for sync, typically speaking, all writers in the room are going to have an even share of the pub and the master. At least that's how it goes in the collabs that I'm doing. We all are in the room together. We're all there putting in the ideas, putting in the time. And often it's one of the writers or singers, top liners in the room that is the one kind of like getting the brief in, putting the team together and pitching the songs on the back end. So a lot of producers that I work with are really happy with that because they get to just, you know, focus on the track and what they do best and bring their talents into the track. And then, you know, clear their portion when it's done. I also know a lot of producers that are very active in on the business side of things in the pitch space. So essentially the best thing is for all of us to work as a team, and it's a creative collaboration just as much as it is a business collaboration. So just be really clear and honest about, you know, the intention of the song, who you're going to put it with. Who is pitching the song is what I mean by that. There's a lot of different rep deals you can get in the sync world. You can have somebody pitching your publishing on the song, on one song, and then somebody else pitching your master share on the exact same song. So it can get really complicated really quick. I've found that as much as I dislike spreadsheets have been my friend in all of this. So that is another thing that I would recommend is as you get farther along in your career, you'll see how complicated the catalog splits can actually become. And you want to have that information easily accessible for anybody who's helping you to monetize your catalog, because they're going to want to clear the song quickly should it actually, you know, be in a situation where somebody wants to license it. That said, in terms of the actual pitching and licensing, I've found that the most successful scenarios are when the publishing and the master are cleared in one fell swoop, which is called a one-stop in the writing and sync world. So if you're writing with 3 people that are, you know, at Universal, for example, and you're all published, all 3 people are published by Universal, and Universal also clears masters. The smartest thing to do would be to either write for a brief from Universal Or just write a sync song, if you guys kind of know that world already well enough. Write a sync song and put the master and the publishing with Universal. The other way to go with that is to put the publishing all as a one-stop somewhere, or put the master all as a one-stop somewhere. I have scenarios where I'll get the master as a one-stop, and then we all clear our own publishing, which is also really great, because then you have, the pictures are taking less of a cut of your actual creative product. So that's kind of like where my head is in terms of the best ways to position yourself to really crush syncs and sync placements. I think that briefs are amazing. Briefs are also, there as a guidance and for inspiration too. A lot of times I'll write for a brief and rarely will get the placement for that specific brief. But the thing about sync, film, TV, and ads music is that the themes are all there throughout really multiple films and series on Netflix and commercials. You're really just conveying an energy and a vibe. And there's a lot of like do's and don'ts in terms of what you do and do not, lyrically say within those songs. So I think looking at briefs is more of a guideline and as an inspiration, and not really expecting to like hit on a specific brief if you're sent one is important, because you may not get that particular placement, but the song is going to be applicable to so many other briefs that you'll get. And then eventually, once you've hit enough briefs, you'll start seeing briefs that'll be like, so similar to another song that you just did for a different brief a week ago. So you could say, okay, well, since we didn't get that one, let's send them this song because it fits this brief, and so on and so forth. And after you do that for a while, you'll start really building your catalog out that way. I would recommend, in terms of, looking at your catalog from like a 40-foot, 1,000 view, making sure you're kind of covering a lot of different bases. So say you have like 20 rock and roll bangers, but no ballads. You should do a ballad and add it to your catalog, even if it's not necessarily something that somebody has an immediate need for. It's always good to have those songs laying around. And then in terms of the registration process, it's important to register things in a timely manner. I would say definitely before you're sending it to any pitchers or any outside companies that are going to be pitching your music or working your catalog, that you should have everything registered with your PRO. And that's important too, but like I said before, having meticulous spreadsheets of even contact information for who your co-writers are is really, really going to help you get those placements. It's like, help me help you. You're essentially putting the people that are out there working your catalog in a much better position when they can already see in a spreadsheet who they need to clear things with, who they need to call, publishers, and all of that. Because when it comes down to it, the ad agencies and the music supervisors that are placing the songs are literally looking at like 20 songs for maybe the same placement. So if it's between a song that has 20 different things that need to be cleared or a song that's a one-stop, I think, obviously they're going to take the one-stop because it's just less work for them, and still an equivalent, quality of music. So it's a jungle out there, you know what I mean? Yeah, and I think also, just trying to work with different people who are at different labels and publishers and who have different pitch relationships than you do is another great way to expand your own catalog and your own reach and your own resources. That's how we all do it. You know, we all are out there helping each other, networking, pooling our resources, and helping each other stay organized as much as we can.